If there's one thing that audio nerds have in common, it's that we like cool stuff and we like to show people our cool stuff. I recently got some more cool stuff, so of course, I'm gonna show you my cool stuff. So for this video, I just want to keep it pretty simple and straightforward and focus on my desk and my rack gear and sort of my workflow that revolves around that. In the future, I'm going to do a full studio tour. I feel like that's long overdue, so stay tuned for that one. But today, I just want to show you this incredible desk behind me and sort of my thought process and my workflow that goes along with the whole package here. So there she is. This is my custom studio desk that I designed and built myself a few years ago. And if you look closely, it's really just a bunch of plywood. And I took some inspiration from a few other desks out there with these sort of angled side pieces and just this like command center look. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. Like I said, it was just a couple sheets of plywood and some stain and some hardware, and I probably built the whole thing for less than 200 bucks with the like baskets and the rack rails and all that stuff. So maybe wood's a little more expensive nowadays, but I think I built this in 2018 or 2019. So you can see it's got this cool like fighter jet side profile to it. I usually give this tour from right to left because over on this side is kind of the brain of the desk. I run a Universal Audio Apollo 8XP for my interface. And then recently I just upgraded to this Ferrofish Pulse 16 for more conversion. And unfortunately I'm only utilizing the first 8 channels of this box because the Apollo can only give you another additional 8 channels of ADAT expansion. So I'm only using half of what this unit's capable of, but it's really good conversion for the money. And it also has TRS line and in and outs in the back, so it was perfect to wire everything up to my, my cheaper, I think, Samson patch bays you'll see in a minute. So underneath here is my gaming computer that I built a long time ago. I should really clean this thing out, but this is just a custom build. It's a Windows machine. I have a 1070 in there. It's, I think, a 9th gen i7 with 32 gigs of RAM. So it's a wonderful machine for music production, and I also do my video editing on this PC as well. So moving across here, this is the Audient Nero monitor controller. This thing has been awesome. It's super transparent and clean. I have no complaints whatsoever. It's super flexible to be able to switch inputs. I actually have a guest interface here, so when my buddies come over with their laptops, they can just plug right into this guy and I can switch my monitor source, and then they can set up right here and work on their projects as needed, and I can just pipe them right in without having to figure out how to wire them into the Apollo or, you know, go in the back and rip out my Thunderbolt cables. So this has been great. I have my main set of monitors and these like cheap Logitech monitors to check mixes on. So I'm using Alt-2. I actually had another set, so I skipped a channel. I don't have a sub. I'm just using the Dynaaudios here. So I don't use the sub function, but the headphone functions are great. I mean, this unit's awesome. If you need a monitor controller, definitely check these out. They are super high quality. Over here, I got my drives and my docking station stuff. Just, you know, everything for file transfer kind of lives over on the computer side. Moving across, I actually just got this console recently from a local venue that was selling it. I have the stage box. If you've seen my other videos on my live rig, I have the PreSonus 32R. So I bought this console with the plan to use it live in conjunction with the stage box when I want the full control surface on bigger shows. Most of the time I'll probably still opt for the tablet. But this thing's been super fun to mix my most recent projects on. I've actually just been using it with the DAW control with Studio One. Studio One 4 Professional is my DAW currently. I haven't upgraded. I haven't really had the need to upgrade to 6. So I've just been sticking with what works, and I've been getting great results with that still. But this thing is so much fun to use as a DAW controller. I love, you know, building my rough mix, my fader mix on this thing. I even mapped a bunch of plugins to the knobs up there. So it's been really fun to do mixing and automation on this thing. It's a little bit taken get used to with like the transport controls being with my right hand now. I used to have a fader port over here, and my left hand would just live on that fader port. So it's a little odd, you know, adapting, changing to the different controls, but I've been loving it. So moving over here, you see this is fun. But getting the console was a challenge because I didn't know where to put my keyboard. So this is what I came up with. I didn't want one of those like pull-out drawers because I felt like I was gonna hit my knees on it all the time. This desk is like 31 inches tall, so it's pretty standard desk height, but I still just don't like the idea of having the keyboard really low and in a drawer. So I actually 3D printed this stand. I've gone through a few revisions to get the angles and the height right, but I held it together with some drumsticks so you can see there. But yeah, so I just have a wireless Bluetooth keyboard. It's a Keychron, and when I want to use the keyboard centered, if I'm just doing like email work and stuff like that, I'll switch this out of DAW mode or turn it off, and then I can just unplug my keyboard here and set it right on the console and use it kind of more naturally, I guess. But when I'm working in the DAW, it lives over here on this stand. And if I need to use the keyboard for anything, to type in like the name of a plugin or naming any tracks, I can just rotate my body a bit and do typing, and it's pretty comfortable actually. So I also needed a place to put the console one because I used to have that in the center as well. It was kind of like the console one was right in front of me and then I had the keyboard above it. But now I have it off to the side because, again, that's the downside of having a console is it takes up a lot of space. Currently, I've been really trying to make use of this how it is. So, and you know, it's not fair to give something a try for only, you know, maybe one mix. So before giving up on it, so I'm trying it like this first. So far, I like it. And this has been working great. I can reach over and, you know, adjust my EQs, do my stuff that I need to do on the console one, and it's all within arm's reach, because that's the goal, is to make this as fast as possible when it comes to mixing. I've also got the Stream Deck here, and I have a few pages of shortcut keys. So this has been super handy too. Before I knew where to put the keyboard, I have like all my keyboard shortcuts here. I have like Shift, Control, Alt, I have crossfade, mute, undo, redo, delete, duplicate track, add layer, save. You know, all the things you would just do very frequently on a keyboard, I actually added to the Stream Deck here, as well as I have my main page where I can, you know, if I'm streaming on Twitch or if I just want to have hot links and stuff like that. This thing's great. If you don't know what Stream Deck is, definitely check those out. They're handy little things you can program to do just about anything a keyboard can do, and then more. So that has been a really cool use of the Stream Deck as of late. Moving on to the left some more, we get started into some of the rack gear. I have a Blackline Audio Bluey. This is definitely my main vocal limiter. I'm a huge fan of CLA and all of his work, and I mean, I grew up on Green Day and Sum 41 and Muse and all those things that he did, so I really love his sound. So I definitely bought this because I liked his sound, and I was an aspiring engineer wanting to sound like that. So it's been great. Some people love it, some people hate it, but I really love it on vocals. It definitely doesn't work on every vocal, but most of the vocals that I tried on, it's great. It just gives me what I want, and I can take a vocal really far with just inserting this guy. So right below that is something that I will talk a little more about in a second, because this is kind of special. This is the Warm Audio bus comp. This is my this is sort of my 2-bus chain. So if you don't know, Warm Audio is great, and if you do know Warm Audio, maybe you like him, maybe you hate him, but this does the SSL bus comp thing, and I like it. I've been using it for a couple of years now, and it's just been doing the job. So the thing above it here, this is special. This is actually a custom designed and built stereo, I'll call it a mix bus console unit. So essentially, I learned how to create audio circuits, and I learned enough knowledge to basically make my own line amplifier box. So there's basically, it's 2 channels of API style console line amp circuit. So essentially, the goal was to do the thing that the center section of a full-size console would do, and basically just amplify my line level signal through some op amps, through some transformers, and it's a color box really too. And it just makes the mix bigger. It just does the thing that I wanted it to do, and it's awesome. And this is the only one on planet Earth. It's really cool, and I'm very proud of it. So I actually dubbed it the shit box because it's kind of a cheap enclosure. They're cheap VU meters for Amazon. Everything on the inside's really high quality. But I cheaped out on as many things as I could. These cheap buttons for the bypass and the on-off switch and all that stuff. And so it's made of it's kind of like an old beater car in terms of construction, but it's also the shit, you know? It sounds awesome, so it's the shit box. So moving down here, we have the wonderful land of patch bays, and you know, some people say this is dinosaur technology, but it's very helpful for me and the stuff that I like to do. So nothing too fancy here. I just have all of my line-ins to my Apollo and my Pulse 16 here on the bottom, and then the rack next to it here, all of the preamps that we'll talk about in a second come out of this top row, and I can route those to, you know, any of my inserts for my bus comp and my sorry, this is hard to read, my 160s and the delay units and other compressors and things like that. So this is just a nice place to route things. Also, all the mic inputs on the bottom here do go to the Apollo, the first 8 channels on the Apollo. So that is where that all happens. Nothing too complex there. And then here is where I've made a lot of my recent additions. So again, if you've seen the other videos on my channel, I did a video on this sidecar build, and this thing is, again, just a bunch of plywood. It turned out really well. I made it to match the desk and the angle and the look of the desk. So that's super cool. And the goal with this project was essentially to have my own tracking console, essentially, to the most simplest form. So I have finally achieved most of that goal, and what you're seeing here is I have 2 Cappy racks. If you don't know Cappy, they're awesome. They're out of Nashville, I believe, and they just make super awesome things. They have kits that you can build if you're new to building your own gear. They're a great place to start. So these are all 6 of these are Cappy gear preamps. I have 4 of the VP 312s and 2 of the VP 25s, and these are all API style mic pre's. I do a lot of drum tracking here at the shed. A lot of bands come to me at least to track drums, if not the whole project. So I definitely specialize in drum tracking. So I wanted some awesome preamps and front end for tracking drums. So this is what I have here. I love these things. I did a lot of shootouts between a couple of the preamps I already had to see if I wanted to buy more of any of these or if I wanted to buy something else. And I just, the Cappy Gear API clones just destroyed everything as far as the tones I wanted. So I chose to buy a bunch more of these kits. So I recently just built 3 of the VP 312s and 1 of the 25s to add on here. So just an awesome set of preamps there. I got 2 of these SSL 6 channels. These are also really good. They're super clean, but you can get a little bit of grit out of them too if you want. They're super powerful little things. You can dial. You got a 2-band EQ and a 1-knob compressor. So if you're checking out 500 series gear, check these things out. They're cheap and they do sound pretty darn good, and they have some flexibility for you. Also, they have a high pass filter, which is something that a lot of cheaper, or just even the higher end preamps, like these Cappies don't even have a high pass filter. So the fact that it has a high pass right on it is worth the money right there. This is a Golden Age Neve clone. So I don't know if it sounds like a Neve. I guess it doesn't really matter, but that's my Neve flavor for the rack. I might get some more of those in the future, or maybe some of the Heritage stuff, but that's that. Down here are these amazing Trident EQs. I demoed a couple of these to see which EQs would replace my cheap Midas EQs. These are the compressors. I actually decided to keep those, but I had a whole bunch of the Midas EQs because they were cheap and I just wanted something on my front end. I never really liked them, never really got great tones out of them, so I was like, I need to change out my EQs. This was kind of the next best thing for like a mid-tier or budget option. And I tried these out and these things sound incredible. I really can't make them sound bad. The Midases would blow up and do all sorts of weird stuff and stuff would sound kind of plasticky, but these Tridents are just amazing. I mean, I love tracking drums through them. I've sampled a bunch of stuff through them already, just, you know, through the DAW and taking like bass guitar, vocals, and they're just, man, they're flexible too. You don't see a lot of 4-band EQs in 500 series. So having a 4-band EQ in a 500 series is super, super clutch, getting that much more adjustability out of these things. So moving over here, this is a Studer 169 EQ. This is actually like a DIY kit. I think Group DIY has the plans for these. I ended up buying the boards from the guy in Germany, and this was one of my first building projects as well. I actually owned a machine shop before, so I made my own face plates for these things. And yeah, they're really cool. I have 2 of them. I threw some Cappy op amps in them. They sound a little bit better with the Cappy op amps, so it's a pretty cool little unit. I got shelves and then a mid-range sweep and booster cut, and then EQ in and out. So Studer 169, check that out. There's a 500 series project you can do if you're into that sort of thing. These are the super cheap Midas compressors. These actually sound pretty cool on drums. I really like it on snare drum, and it can definitely get you that punchy snare sound for a pretty low price point. So if you're looking for maybe like some cheap compressors to get you going, or you're just looking for like a different thing to try, these are like $200. And they're pretty awesome. So I actually ended up keeping these after I sold my Midas EQs. So I think those will stick around for a bit. Down here I have DBX 160X compressors. You probably know what those are. Great on kick and snare. This one's actually messed up. Oops. This one's actually messed up and is more of a distortion box than anything. I have no idea what's wrong with it. I haven't tried to look at it, but it sounds like crap when you try to like do something serious with it, but it makes a very cool vocal like distortion box. So I've used it for that a few times. Otherwise, I just use this top one here for kick or snare. Sometimes I'll track vocals through it too. I don't have a great vocal compressor for tracking at the moment, so sometimes I'll use that, or sometimes I'll just use the UAD stuff. And then these are the TC Electronics D2s. These things are awesome. I have created my own slap delay setting, as you can see here, and I love it. And then I'm just using the 2290, kind of the stock delay sound that comes with these. It's just a really good 80s sounding delay, and I love that music and I love that sound, so I've just been using them like that, and they pretty much never get touched. It's kind of a set and forget situation for those. So that concludes everything in this sidecar. And this is, I actually just did a session. I just did a session with all this new gear recently, and it was incredible. The band was Diet Light out of Milwaukee, and they came in and did 2 covers live off the floor in the room, and they sound amazing. I'm super excited to do more tracking sessions with bands with this rig. So moving up here, I have my speed editor from DaVinci Resolve. Awesome little tool. And then we haven't talked about the monitors yet. These are my Dyne Audio lid 48s, and they're 3-way monitors. I did a video on these talking about how much I love them. They're great. I would always be willing to try another set of monitors, but I haven't really absolutely needed to buy another set of monitors since I bought these. I came from some 2-way JBLs, the little 5-inch 2-ways, so those have been great. But there it is, that's my desk. Super awesome. This thing's been a workhorse for probably about 5 years now since I've been in this building, so this thing has just been super fun, and I feel like it's always growing and changing a little bit here and there, but I haven't decided to fully replace it with something else just yet, so maybe that'll happen at some point, but so far this thing's doing the job, so. Alrighty, well thanks for stopping by and checking out my desk setup. Hope this gave you some ideas, or just hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like I said, if you have any questions, comments, drop them down below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, peace out.